Okay, we're live.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our second meeting in February. I'm Valerie Sullivan, Chair of the Group Insurance Commission, and it's nice to see so many folks here on my screen. Hello to those live streaming, watching this. Happy to be here today. I'd like to say hello and turn this over to Matt to review our agenda for today.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome to members of the Commission. We have the agenda up. Sorry, I'm not seeing my screen here well.
Sorry, I can put it right up. I thought I was
Okay.
sharing it already. One moment. Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. So welcome again. And so in today's meeting, this is our final meeting in preparation for annual enrollment. As members of the Commission are very well aware, today we have two items, two main items on the agenda. The presentation of our FY26 rates, that will be, as it always is, in several different parts. There will be two votes as part of this presentation, one on the FY26 full cost premiums and the second on the municipal administrative fee. And then we'll have Jim present his CFO report.
All right, that sounds great. Very busy yet important agenda for today. So appreciate everybody's attention here and participation and input. At this point, I'm going to ask for
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
We should tell the audience who's with us today.
Oh, yeah, we should. And that'll be helpful while we do the roll call. So do you want to let people know who's here for our start of the meeting?
Sure. Joining us today is our chair, Commissioner Sullivan, our vice chair, Bobby Kaplan, designee for ANF, Sullivan, designee for DOI, Butler, Commissioner Shabbat, Commissioner Choate, Commissioner Edmonds, Commissioner Gentile, Commissioner Jennings, Commissioner McEnany, Commissioner Murphy-Rodriguez, Commissioner Sullivan, and we expect to be joined by Commissioner Sinenko and Silva shortly.
Yeah, Anna's here already.
And Commissioner Silva is as well.
Andrew.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So we got a good host of folks here representing our board. So thank you, Andrew, for that. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so I heard Toby, Bobby, and somebody else. I'll ask Andrew to take roll call. I'll be abstaining because I wasn't here at the last meeting, and I want to thank Bobby for chairing it, so thank you.
Vice Chair Kaplan.
Sorry, yay.
Thank you. Designee Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you. Designee Butler.
Yes.
Commissioner Shabbat.
I am abstaining. I wasn't here at the last meeting.
Commissioner Choate.
Approved.
Commissioner Edmonds.
Yes.
Commissioner Gentile.
Yes.
Commissioner Jennings.
Abstain. I was not here.
Commissioner McEnany.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy-Rodriguez.
Yes.
Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Commissioner Sinenko.
Yes.
And Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously, those voting.
All right, thanks, Andrew. So I'll turn it over to Matt now. I think got some important business to do.
We do. Thank you, and I'll be brief in today's executive director's report, as brief as I can, and focus on actually 2 staff departures and a retirement among our commissioners that will bring an end to his time on the commission. So I want to acknowledge those departures. So we'll start with staff. Some of you may know Daryl Ransom, who is the longtime supervisor of our small mailroom team. He will be retiring in the first week in April after, get this, 46 years in state service, all at the GIC. So that's 46
Wow.
years of being steady and reliable, always willing to pitch in to get done what needs to get done. This has been especially true over the last 5 years as we've dealt with the disruptions of a global pandemic and 2 office moves and changing the way we do business. But Daryl has always rolled with the punches and been a consistently friendly and positive presence around the office. I will note, so Daryl joins his wife Maria in retirement. We also wished Maria well when she retired from the GIC last year about this time, and she retired with 42 years of service to the GIC. So I want to acknowledge just a tremendous dedication to this organization and a combined 88 years of service to the GIC. So we wish Daryl and Maria very well in their retirement.
It's very exciting. Congrats. I think I thought I saw some folks clapping.
Yeah.
So if we were all in person, there'd be a rumble.
So thank you, Daryl. The second departure from the staff. So tomorrow will be the last day at the GIC for our CFO and Chief Procurement Officer, Jim Rust, as he has been recruited for a job that I suspect will be less stressful, I hope, somewhat less work, I hope, and a better paycheck than we could give you. So as you all know well, Jim has been here at the GIC for 7 years, the first 2 as CFO, and then we've added on Chief Procurement Officer to his title. Before I say a word about Jim, I just want to note that, as you would expect, we're putting in place an interim structure to keep the work moving here in Jim's absence as we nail down a more permanent structure going forward. As you can imagine, it's not as simple as just backfilling for the role that Jim has played. So Jim would want me to keep this short and sweet. I'll do my best. That's not easy. But when I first got here 5 years ago and met Jim, who, as I said, was our CFO only at the time, it was quickly very apparent to me that that he had a lot more to offer beyond leadership of the finance side of the shop. So when the opportunity arose, we significantly expanded his portfolio beyond budget and finance and accounting to oversight of procurement, which of course is a major part of the work that we do, vendor management as well, and data analytics. And with that much to keep an eye on, it's clear that we've relied very heavily on Jim for a good chunk of the important work that takes place here. And in addition to that, Jim has just been a very wise and helpful counsel to me on all the major decisions that come before me as executive director. It will not surprise you to hear that Jim is highly respected among his colleagues at the GIC and the many others outside of the GIC with whom he works. He is adored by the staff that he supervises, which I think speaks volume. He's a terrific manager of people. So he's a big loss. Jim, we will wish you the best. You will be missed. And so if others want to speak, if you want to give Jim a moment to speak, happy to proceed how you'd like, Madam Chair.
I would just like to
thank
jump
you,
in and say, Madam Chair, may I speak?
Absolutely, Jade.
All I want to say is that, it's a huge loss to GIC, but I know that wherever Jim lands, he will continue to be the shining star that he's been for us. I just am so much in admiration of him, and not just as a professional, but as a human being. He's just such a darn special guy. So congratulations, Jim.
That's so nicely said, Jay. Thank you. Bobby?
Yes, well, first of all, I want to congratulate Jim and also say that it is a huge loss, but Jane said it best, and I couldn't say any more than that, but I will echo what she said. It's a huge loss, but I'm very happy for you, Jim, to in your new role, whatever that might be. But we will surely miss you and your contribution to the GIC. It's been wonderful, knowing you, working with you. You've been terrific. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, you've also put it very nicely. I'm going to miss you, Jim. You have made significant contributions to the GIC. It was thrilling to have you join us when you did. I can't believe it's been 7 years. It feels like poof, how it goes so fast. But thank you for all that you've done. I think all of the commissioners join me in thanking you for your steadiness, your competencies, and your ability to really lead this organization. So thank you. Best of luck. Keep in touch. Maybe come back and visit once in a while when we have our live meetings. Would love to be in touch. So thank you. And you feel free to, jump in, Jim, if you want to say anything or just give us a thumbs up and we'll keep moving.
I don't want to hold this up, but I want to thank you all. And I also don't want to get emotional before we do a CFO report later. But I thank you all for your support. I mean, it's always been recognized by me that the commission's support for me, the organization and the staff, and the questions you've asked and what you've asked of us has helped make me a better manager and help us do a better job here. And I truly will miss it. I'll say that about a lot of jobs. I will truly miss this, what we have here. But we'll talk again later when I give you a budget update. Thanks so much.
All right. You're not gone yet. You're not done yet. You have until tomorrow. So we can still be in touch until then for sure. And
will do. Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate the kind words. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So
of course.
Just the final farewell will be to our Commissioner Joe Gentile. Joe, as folks may recall, was appointed 8 years ago next week, so March 2017, longer than I thought, Joe, as our commissioner's municipal public safety member nominated by the AFL-CIO. Joe retired last summer after serving the city of Springfield as a police officer for 30 years. While there, Joe also served as president of the IBPL Local 364 Patrolmen's Union, and he continues to serve as a board member for the National Law Enforcement Memorial Fund. As is true with so many in public service, even though he's retiring from the police force, Joe will continue on in the labor movement in a new role with NAGE. So he will not be too far. Joe has been an excellent commissioner. He may not always pipe up too much at meetings, but when he does, I listen closely, and I know others do. Joe, I'm grateful to your support for me and for the staff over the 5 years you've been in this, that I've been in this role, and wish you the best in retirement.
Yeah, and I think all the commissioners join me, and Matt, you said it so nicely, in wishing you all the best. We know you won't be far, so thank you for your service, and we look forward to keeping in touch with you as well. It's been a pleasure.
And I'll just say quickly, unfortunately, I'm not on camera, but thank you all. I've learned a tremendous amount being on this board, and I respect the work that is done, not just by the board, but by the staff at the GIC. It's tremendous. And congratulations to Jim, and congratulations to the other folks for all the service that they provided to the GIC. Thank you.
Bobby, I know you want to pipe in here. Go
Yes,
ahead.
of course I do. I wanted to just say, Joe, that I thank you for, all the support that you have, given to all of us labor commissioners, as well as to the GIC. I thank you for all of your input and counsel over the years, and I will surely miss seeing you at our meetings, but of course I will be seeing you at MAGE meetings and on other occasions. So I'm very pleased about that. But just, personally, it's been great. You've been tremendous support, and thank you so much.
Very, very nicely said, Bobby. So, wishing all of you best of luck and keeping in touch with us.
Well,
All
thank
right,
you,
Matt,
Madam
on to
Chair. I
you.
think now we'll turn it now to the calendar, which I'll touch on very briefly. I know we want to, folks are eager to get to our business at hand. After today's meeting, of course, we take a break for commission meetings with no March meeting. We have annual enrollment that begins on April 2nd, so we are all hands on deck for that. We have scheduled, and this is new, a tentative April meeting, which we sometimes do not hold. We are coming to the end of our procurement for our data warehouse, and expect to be ready to proceed by April, but if not, we will let you know, and that may bleed over into May. We also have a few other presentations in the mix. You'll see in May, we've got the trust fund votes, the out-of-pocket report, and another procurement on life and LTD, and then our annual review of annual enrollment in June. But we have a few other items that we're looking to slot in, so keep a lookout for those. We've talked a good deal already about our affordability challenges. We had a terrific discussion in November with David Seltz, who we're looking to have potentially come back before we break for the summer to continue that discussion. It always seems we never quite have enough time for that. But our staff are also working on deeper dive updates on our work on health equity, which continues to move forward, and behavioral health access. I will say, finally, our chair is very keen to get us together in person in a commission meeting. So we hope to have more details on that for you soon, but we're tentatively shooting for our June meeting. So happy to take any questions on calendar.
I don't see any, but I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in June. Maybe we could start a little bit later to give people time to get into the office for the meeting once you give us the location.
Yeah.
But I do hope that we can make June work for an in-person meeting. All right, let's keep moving. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. So with that, we'll hand it over to Cameron McBean, Margaret Anschutz, and Jim Rust, who will take us through a few steps of the fiscal year 2026 rates. So first, hand it over to Cameron.
Thank you, Matt, and good morning, commissioners. If we could advance to the next slide, please. I'm going to be reviewing the final rates for the dental and vision plans. We presented some of the tweaks we'd proposed to the plan design for the dental. Wanted to circle back on something that we had mentioned in working through the details with Altus. It turns out that our initial interpretation of the cost proposal was incorrect. It would be prohibitive to from a premium standpoint for our retiree population to add in orthodontia for this year. So we're going to hold off on that in order to keep our premiums as level as possible for that population. We will still be increasing the annual maximums for all three of the dental plans, though, as we had previously indicated. Next slide. These show the new final dental premium rates for our active participants. And you can see compared to the current year plans, we're still seeing savings on the dental side compared to MetLife, even with the enhancements that we've added. Next slide, please. This shows, because the vision plan is self-insured, we did develop working rates in conjunction with our consultants over at Lockton. The vision rates are slightly higher than what they were under Davis, but overall, we move on to the next slide. We see that those rates are still going to be lower than they were for the current year with MetLife. Okay, so these are the final combined dental and vision rates for our active plan participants. And if we move to the next slide, this shows what the final monthly payroll contributions would be for those participants. Because as we all know, the state pays the lion's share of those premium costs. Any questions so far?
I don't see any, Cameron.
Okay. I believe that concludes the dental and vision proportion. I think if we move to the next slide, it's time for me to hand it back over to Matt to introduce Margaret.
Thank you. Thank you, Cameron. Sorry, give me just a moment. Sorry, bear with me for just one moment. Okay, so sorry about that. So we have, of course, spent the better part of the last 6 months discussing with you the root causes of our real challenge in delivering stability on our premiums to our members. We share that urgency with you of taking meaningful steps to get that trend on a more sustainable path. I want you to know that I continue to advocate with others in state government to take steps to address the drivers in the entire healthcare market, and working with them with the hope that steps that we can take as we lead within the GIC in this context, that those steps can be complementary and aligned with a broader effort on healthcare affordability. So please know that our staff are hard at work on solutions. You are eager to hear them. We are eager to present them. And I suspect that before we kick off our FY27 premium development work with you in the fall, we will have had a fulsome series of discussions with you on those solutions. So it's going to be an interesting year on affordability. We really look forward to engaging with you. With that, this is the conclusion of the exercise that we've been on for the last several months, and we'll turn it over to Margaret to present to you on our full cost premiums.
Thanks, Matt. Good morning, commissioners. I'm here to present the FY26 health insurance premiums for your vote. Next slide. First, I'll give a quick overview of our rate development process and timeline. Then in the executive summary, we'll look at distribution of members across a range of premium increases within FY26 health plan offerings. Then we'll look at the premiums and member contributions in both non-Medicare and Medicare products before moving on to the vote. Next slide. As you are aware, premiums are developed annually based on the anticipated members within each plan and anticipated total cost of care of those members' claims. We classify our plans as non-Medicare and Medicare products, with non-Medicare products covering active employees as well as some retirees who are not eligible for Medicare, and Medicare products covering retirees only. Next slide. As a refresher, let's walk through the process staff have gone through to develop rates. Our actuarial consultants at Willis Towers Watson develop our rates annually. These rates are a function of prior year's utilization, anticipated members within each plan, medical inflation, and trends we expect to see in our claims in the next year. Our rate setting process spans about 6 months. Between September and December, WTW requests data from our carriers and PBM to prepare status quo rates. In addition to claims data, WTW also incorporates adjustments for any expected changes in the market, such as the introduction or adoption of new drugs. This sets a baseline for us to develop and evaluate the projected plan costs for the coming fiscal year. You will recall that in December, we presented to you an estimated range of 8.5 to 12.5% increase across our portfolio. Our final increase comes in at 11.7%. This includes all products, non-Medicare and Medicare. Staying with the timeline in front of you, in January, we brought proposed plan design changes to you for discussion, and the commission meeting earlier this month, you voted on those changes. That gets us to today, where you're here to vote on rate changes for the next fiscal year. Next slide, please. Before we look at rates, though, I have a few definitional slides to run through very quickly. As you know, premium is the amount of money that is needed to pay for provider services and for medications. Premiums do not include out-of-pocket expenses, such as copays and deductibles. Next slide. Most of our members pay only a portion of the premium cost, with the state picking up the largest share of the premium as part of our members' benefit package. I'll note here that municipalities set their own contribution rates independently. You see on this slide the 4 different premium splits based on an employee's date of hire. I have member counts for each of these contribution ratios. In the employee 10% bucket, we have 14,965 subscribers. At 15%, 41,896. At 20%, 60,875. And at 25%, 79,436. Next slides, please. Another definitional slide here. This is a reminder that the GIC's portfolio is self-insured, with the exception of our one Medicare Advantage product. As such, the Commonwealth takes the risk with respect to healthcare spending exceeding premiums. Next slide. And a little refresher on what is driving these premium increases. As David Seltz from the Health Policy Commission laid out for us in November, we continue to see substantial provider consolidation in Massachusetts. The market power of large medical systems is one major driver of premium increases. Large systems can extract higher rates. Just as important to note, pharmacy spending continues to drive trend as well, particularly spending on GLP-1s. This is true nationally as well as in Massachusetts. Next slide, please. Okay, here's the good stuff. Now we're going to go through, and I'm going to walk you through a high-level view of our rate increases across our non-Medicare and Medicare products. For this slide, we will be discussing these rate increases in terms of percentage increase, coupled with the total number of members in each percentage increase bucket. In later slides, we will discuss the premium amount and the increase associated with each product. I think it's important to get a high-level view of what this distribution looks like across our membership, and that's what this graphic shows. The variation in rate increases runs from 7 to 8% on the left side of the graph to up to 17% on the right side. Again, it's important to understand this variation and that it exists because it shows that increases really vary across our products and membership. So having said that, directing your attention to the graph, you'll see percentages listed along the bottom. The number at the top of the bar is how many members fall into each increase bucket based on FY25 enrollment. For example, with the third bar from the left, we see that 51,158 members will see an 11 to 12% premium increase should they stay in the plan that they were in for FY25. So now that we're oriented to the graph, I want to pull out a few key points. Across our Medicare and non-Medicare products, the weighted average increase is 11.7%. In December, we brought you the expected range of an 8.5 to 12.5 increase. 11.7 is high in GIC's historical context, and we recognize that this is a substantial increase to our members, and it will be felt really by everyone. For some context outside of the GIC, the federal employee benefit plan had an increase of 11.2%. This is the average across a number of health plans nationally, and these plans are also required to cover at least one GLP for anti-obesity. So I think that that's a pretty good comparator to let you know nationally, medical inflation is very high. Neighboring states, Rhode Island, Maine, and Vermont are also seeing large increases with 8 to 12% in Rhode Island, 9% in Maine, and 18% in Vermont.
Holy crap.
Yeah. But again, it's important to look at the distribution of these increases. You will see on the left side of the graph that 45% of our subscribers are expected to see a rate increase of less than 8%. On the other side of the graph, we see that 11% of our subscribers will see a rate increase of greater than 14%. We encourage these members, as well as anyone who is concerned with the increase in their current product, to shop and see if their needs can be met in terms of provider access, co-pays, and deductibles with a different product. Okay, next slide, please. Now that you have a sense of the variation in premium increases, here's a slide that shows the total premium amount for each non-Medicare product. You can see that there is a substantial dollar amount difference between our cheapest product on the left, WellPoint Community Choice, and our most costly plan on the right, WellPoint Total Choice. This is due in large part to the different benefit designs, including deductibles, co-pays, and relative expansiveness of the provider network. If a member wants a broad provider access with lower co-pays, they may be more interested in products on the right, whereas the products on the left generally have a relatively narrow network and higher out-of-pocket costs. This is all keeping with the GIC's priority to offer meaningful choice to our members. So please remember that each of these products has its own distinguishing features that are underlying these premiums and that contribute to its rates. Again, we encourage members to shop, but to shop on more than just price, making sure their doctors are in network and they're comfortable with the out-of-pocket structure of the product they select. Turning to the graph now, reading from left to right, again, we can see the relationship between product type and associated premium. WellPoint Community Choice and Harvard Pilgrim Quality are narrow networks, although with Community Choice, of course, members can see out-of-network providers, but have to pay co-insurance. Moving to H&E. H&E is a regional product. Since it's a Western Massachusetts plan, many of the highest cost providers are excluded or allowed only in cases of medical necessity. WellPoint Plus, MGB Health Plan, and Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare Explorer offer broad network coverage and accordingly cost more than our regional and narrow network or narrow products. And finally, Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare Access America is our national product, and Total Choice is our highest actuarial value plan, although there are geographic restrictions to membership. All right, next slide, please. The same product type considerations that we discussed in the prior slide with individual rates apply across prices of the family premiums too. Again, these are full premium rates and are not reflective of the member's contribution. I'm going to leave this slide up for a couple seconds for folks to digest.
Yeah, thanks, Margaret. And just remind me, I think you said this, these are monthly rates?
These are monthly rates.
Okay. At this point, Bobby has her hand up. Is it appropriate for a question?
Sure, I'd be
As
happy to take a
we
question.
can all digest what you've given us for information. So Bobby, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, so I would first thanks, Margaret. I was curious as to like how many years in your one of the first slides, I was curious as to how many years that the GIC has had to request additional funding. How many years have we gone over budget?
Oh, I don't know that off the top of my head.
Because in my recent memory, we have not. We've actually, been under budget.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was just curious what, if you could, maybe Jim, you can speak to that.
I can. I'm saying if I have my handy dandy spreadsheet open here. It's been a while, but your memory's correct. Like since I've been here, we've been at, not because I've been here, but since I've been here, we've been at or below budget every year. So it's been, I'm going to say, about a decade. You go back to, I'm not as good with years as I am in administration, but certainly during the Patrick administration, may have been the last time when there were multiple deficits. Again, not saying it was their fault, I wasn't here, but I just know in the years that that's probably the last time when we needed supplemental budgets.
Right, and if
This
you,
year
I
will be
know,
another. Right?
this year will be what? Another one?
This year will be another. We'll definitely need one this year, but we'll get to that later.
Right. So I was just sure. I know you're not going to be here, but maybe we can be provided what what those numbers have been that we have that has been returned to the general fund.
I can do that. I have that on hand. I just can't get it open. I can send it almost right after the meeting.
Okay, that would be terrific.
Yeah. Well, sure.
And regarding the family rate, so you actually, I'm a little premature because I know in the next slide you're going to show the percentages, right? The percent increase for these plans. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks.
So Bobby, maybe we should let Margaret finish, and it sounds like the team has put this together to help us in a linear fashion. So let's keep going, Margaret. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. All right, next slide, please. Okay, these are our full cost rates for our non-Medicare products that you will vote on shortly. The average increase for these products is 12.7%. You will see these product names in the second column from the left. The rates that you are about to vote on are listed in the second column from the right. We've got an orange box around them. Again, this is the full premium amount. And then in the rightmost column is the percentage increase over FY25 for each product. As I've noted in multiple places already, there is considerable range in the rate increase of each product, with Total Choice coming in with the highest increase at 17.1%, and Health New England coming in with the lowest percentage increase at 10.5%. These increases are related to market factors mentioned, namely price increases of medical services, pharmacy spending, as well as utilization within each plan. Again, these products vary by both their actuarial value and their network reach. So while it's important to consider premiums when shopping, members who are considering switching plans should also verify any product they're contemplating will also meet their needs in terms of provider network coverage. All right, next slide, please. Here are the premiums broken down for each product by member contribution. Although please note these contribution rates are for state employees only, and that munis set their own contribution rates. So this is what's coming out of people's paycheck. Next slide, please. Here are the final rates for our Medicare products, with average increases this year coming in at 7.3%. The Medicare supplement products all offer nearly the same coverage and cost close to the same dollar amount. But remember that utilization, in particular pharmacy utilization, may vary across these plans and drive the small variation of rate increases between products. And of course, we have our sole fully insured product, Tufts Health Plan Medicare Preferred, up at the top here with a 7.6% increase. And next slide, please. And here's our final slide showing the Medicare product rates by contribution ratio. This is the amount a retiree member pays based on their hire date. And I can take any additional questions the commission has.
I don't see any here.
Could you just, this is Melissa, could you go back to the contribution for employees? Thank you. I just need a second on it. Thanks. Madam Chair, I'm good now. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
As folks digest and perhaps contemplate questions or statements they'd like to make, I just want to thank the GIC and WTW pricing team. This has been a rather extraordinary year, a unique year, difficult year, just in following trends that have been very volatile, more so than usual. So the team has been reviewing data right up until just the final weeks leading up to this meeting so that we can be sure we have the most accurate and current data that we possibly can. So just want to compliment the team for their diligence on this and just the excellent support that we continue to get from WTW.
You refresh, Matt, my memory about what the increase percentages were last year?
I believe last year's overall, Margaret may know this better. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it was 8.5 last year. If you go, let's see, go back a slide. And back another slide, please. And one more. Here we go. So we have the FY25 rates broken down by plan. It's not the aggregate increase, but we also have the last year's rates and the increase broken out for each product. But in aggregate, I think it was 8.5.
This is just a question of curiosity in terms of visually seeing that, you know, we have 4 broad network choices.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to consolidate those, and I know it's just an illustrative question, is there any value in having those rates come down? Because from a $14.96 a month to a $9.55, is there that much variability in the offering?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I want to remind you that WellPoint Total Choice is kind of our Cadillac plan. You know, the benefit design that's underneath these, the broad plans varies. So it has the highest actuarial value, so the premium is going to be accordingly higher with WellPoint, and so then it would be an exercise in really looking at rates, and there would be you know, I think looking at these rates, things are looking pretty comparable. So I don't know that there's a lot to gain, but as analytics director, I want to see the data first, and I haven't done that exercise, so it's hard for me to answer.
Yeah, just a follow up. Do our constituents have the tools they need to compare across these broad networks? So, you know, if they're looking for that broad network, how, do they have a checklist in terms of asking, if I were to move to WellPoint Plus, I could save $500 a month. That could be substantial for some of our constituents, but what do I need and how do I make sure I'm getting what I need?
Yeah, I don't know that we have such guidance. I mean, that part of that is the reason why I keep hammering on, if you're going to shop, make sure your provider's a network, make sure if you're going to shop and we want our members to shop, make sure your provider's a network, make sure you're comfortable with the out-of-pocket payment structure. And those are the big points. And I think we try to emphasize that in all of our communications materials.
Okay. So
yeah, just having just reviewed our benefit guides just for final review, there's a good deal of effort taken in there to encourage that kind of evaluation of plans, directing them to various resources to do that, mostly, providing links to the individual plan, provider directories and that sort of thing. So there's, our website is a clearinghouse for that sort of information, but I think we're always looking to do that in new and different ways.
Okay, great. I would encourage our constituents to shop and to be informed, because that kind of variability on a monthly basis could be meaningful for our stakeholders. Hey, Bobby, I see you have a hand up. You've been patient, so go ahead and take the floor.
Yep. Thank you. Margaret, what is the breakdown between how many subscribers are in have individual plans and how many have family? What's the breakdown?
I don't have that in front of me, but I'm certainly happy to pull that. That's an easy pull.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and the individual numbers are in these slides, but the family and individual breakdown by plan, but we'd have to just sum them up.
Okay, thanks.
I don't see any other questions. Maybe we're all, as I am, concerned about these high rates, but I think Margaret did a nice job of illustrating that states around us and at a national level are struggling with the same challenges of significant rate increases year over year. So if we don't have any other questions, I think we can move on to a vote, because I do think that's what the staff needs.
Madam Chair, may I just speak for a minute?
Of course. Yes, please, Jane.
I guess, for me, I've been trying to evaluate what I think are tough alternatives either way. And, at the end of the day, am I right in understanding that a vote in favor will, in my own way of thinking, better protect people who, from having to face an increase in out-of-pocket costs? In other words, what I worry about with a no vote is, what's the alternative? How do you make sure that the people who can least afford to pay are protected? Because when I think of the retirees and I think of people who are sick or injured or whatever, they are struggling. They're really struggling to just stay alive. And I almost say that literally and figuratively in this tough economy. So am I right in understanding that a vote to increase the rates is, frankly, as lousy a choice as I think it is, forgive my crass language, of the two alternatives? At least it wouldn't result in an increase of out-of-pocket costs for people who can least afford it. It wouldn't put a burden on their shoulders that they shouldn't have to carry.
That is correct.
Thank you.
I think, Jane, that is one of the, reasons behind my thinking on, the variability between the different prices that we saw on the slide. So if there was a way for people to switch, are they making sure it's supporting them? It could be significant savings, but if it's not giving them what they need for their coverage, then, it does become challenging for the family budget.
And I just want to say that I'm glad that, Matt, that you started this conversation earlier by saying that you see GIC as an advocate, and your responsibility is to advocate for people within the state system. Because, let's face it, we've got to find some long-term solutions, and that's going to require leadership, and it's going to require decision makers, including the people in the state who are critical, to be fully engaged in addressing this challenge, because it's not going to go away. So I'm glad that you're taking a strong advocacy role in trying to find long-term solutions to this problem, recognizing that it's not easy.
Yeah. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you,
Hey, I
Commissioner.
see Tim has his hand up. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I agree 100% with Jane. When I think of my own membership, I have a significant number of paraprofessionals, secretaries, custodians, bus drivers, and these people can be put into a situation where they need to decide: do they put food on the table, or do they get the health care that they need to stay healthy and deal with their family situations? So, I've been given a lot of thought of, the same question: if we vote this down, what happens? If not, I'm leaning towards voting for it. But I do think that as we go forward we have groups of people that really are forced into making some very, very, very tough decisions. So therefore, I think, Matt, if I recall correctly from earlier in the meeting, you have mentioned twice already of dealing with David Seltz and the Health Policy Commission. And I think we need to keep those conversations going so that as we move forward, we are heading in a direction where we can have some resolve in all of these issues. Hope I'm making sense, but I really have a significant pocket of my members who could going to be greatly impacted by whatever increases, whether it be percentage wise on the premiums or whether it be higher copays and deductibles, that could really cause them to be in a situation where they have to make some very, very, very tough decisions. So Jane, I'm in 100% agreement with your comments.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, and I love that Tim is reminding us of the value of the Health Policy Commission, their ability to collect data. And, if there is a way that we can leverage work that the HPC is doing to make meaningful change, it would behoove us to do so, because collectively, it's always better to be working, with others in the state, because we are the largest purchaser of healthcare. And, if we could get some power behind that ×2, that would be potentially a way to, like Jane said, drive leadership and differential to make meaningful change in the direction of these rates for next year. Bobby, is that your same hand up, or do you still have some questions?
No, I just wanted to comment that like Tim, our membership is, we have many people who are in clerical positions, people whose salaries, even though we were able to negotiate an increase, this increase is more than triple. Okay, what small increase our state employees received just a month ago, and that's going to eat that away. And I recognize that this is this is becoming an untenable situation. I recall, I don't know how many years ago it was, but when Harvard, before they merged, when Harvard Pilgrim increased their premiums by 12%, okay, we prohibited any new subscribers to that plan. We cut Harvard off for a year because of that huge increase. And these must be the largest increases that I have seen, like across the board for every carrier. And I appreciate the fact that, our copays and our deductibles have not increased. And I fully understand that a premium increase, to vote for that, is probably the lesser of two evils, really. But I'm well aware that even those copays that my members call or email constantly about the increase in the copays, how the providers are now in a higher tier, and therefore they're paying more. And because of the consolidation, which is not, which is nothing that GIC, we can't do anything about that. And I recognize all the changes in the industry, right? And in healthcare, and particularly in this state. And while it's important to know what's happening in the rest of New England states or in the country, our members care about what's happening to them. And what's happening to them are huge increases. And although I appreciate that the out-of-pocket expense for copays and deductibles would be far worse, I still, in good conscience, cannot vote for these increases because I know what the impact is on our membership. And I appreciate really all the hard work that the GIC has done, and certainly that Matt has done in leading the GIC. But the impact of this on our membership is just so huge that I can't begin to say how much, and I really cannot.
Thank you, Bobby. Eileen, it looks like you have your hand up. Go ahead, you have the floor.
I do. Thank you, Valerie. So I just wanted to echo some of the other comments about the need for the GIC to be a leader in trying to address healthcare affordability. And I certainly respect a lot of the work that the HPC does, but the HPC provides data. They don't demand change, right? They provide the data that allows others to be the leaders. And I think the GIC, as the largest purchaser, does need to be a leader in this regard. So I very much look forward to these ongoing conversations so that next year when we're voting on rates, they're not double digit. It is a crisis in this Commonwealth, and I think it's high time that we just demand change. So I look forward to being part of those conversations and working in that regard.
Yeah, thank you, Eileen.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, I don't see any other comments. I would like a motion to approve these cost premiums for fiscal year 26, as we saw on slide 24 and 26. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a
Second.
second? Okay. I didn't catch who they were, but Andrew, if you did.
Jane and Anna, did I get that right?
Okay, good. So at this point, I will look to you, Andrew, to take roll call for vote. And as difficult as this is, I am voting yay. Or
Thank
aye.
you, Chair. Vice Chair Kaplan,
No.
Designee Sullivan,
Yes.
Designee Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Shabbat,
No.
Commissioner Choate, I'll come back.
Yes, I was muted. Yes.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Edmund,
Yes.
Commissioner Gentile,
No.
Commissioner Jennings,
Yes.
Commissioner McEnany,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy Rodriguez, I'll come back. Commissioner Silva,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinenko,
Yes.
Commissioner Sullivan,
Yes.
is Commissioner Murphy Rodriguez online?
Yes.
There she is. Was that an affirmative vote, Commissioner?
It is. Thank you.
Thank you. The vote passes 11 affirmative, 3 opposed.
All right, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, commissioners. An important step for us to be able to proceed. I believe we have one more
Yeah, Matt, before
section. Go ahead.
we do, I just want to coalesce what we've heard here, including with the vote, that we need to see leadership, and we know you have it across the staff and with the WTW and data from the Health Policy Commission, to use that data to demand change. We want to see, from a measurable perspective next year, rates that are not exceeding double digit. So please move forward, as I know you will, with that in mind. And we're looking forward to the specifics of what actions we're going to work on to demonstrate that we can slow these rate increases down for our constituents.
Chair Sullivan. I just, for my records, I don't know if I called Commissioner Silva on the vote.
I
Okay,
believe
we
you did. Yeah.
Okay,
You did, yeah. I'm a yes.
okay, thank you.
It's
missed
always
it on my
it's
record.
always good to get that confirmation, Andrew.
Yes,
So
thank you. I apologize.
Let's keep moving.
I think at this point we hand it back to Jim.
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Matt. So we're here now to vote the municipal administration fee. As many of you may recall, every year at this time, we also set the administration fee charged to municipalities for administering the benefits for the program. This year, we calculated the required fee based on the premiums just presented to the commission. We recalculate the fee to be 0.25%. This is a 0.05% lower than last year. And it's not a reduction in cost really to the municipalities. The fee is basically staying the same. Sorry, staying the same. But since the premiums have gone up, the percentage required in order to collect that same amount of money has gone down. So this will allow us to collect the $2.2 million that is dedicated to supporting the municipalities, and this is sufficient to cover the expenses for FY26. I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can move to a motion.
Yeah. Is there any chance that the fees get other municipalities excited to join us, or is it more like a rounding
It's,
amount?
I mean, I think it's considered a reasonable fee. I don't, the fee, when I've gone out and talked to municipalities, the fee is certainly not considered to be any sort of obstruction to them joining. It's a reasonable fee compared to what they pay if they're paying a broker's fee or whatever other their arrangement is before they come to the GIC. So it's certainly not, it's not an impediment at all. It's considered reasonable by the municipality. So if, to the extent that I think the premiums actually drive them more. Obviously, that's the bigger cost, but it's not an unreasonable add-on to the premiums.
And
And it's
has,
transparent, like they know exactly what we're charging them and exactly what they're getting for it.
yeah. All right, well, I don't see any questions here.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Jim, what was the yield last year or for FY25 and for 24? What was the yield?
Last year was about 2.4 million, I'd say. I don't know the exact figure, 2.4.
Okay, and that was at 0.30, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. Okay.
Any variability really is around collections and timing of payments around the year. I mean, if everybody pays on time and within the year, it comes in exactly as it should. But as you know, sometimes things go to accounts payable and the accounting changes year to year. Everyone pays. We do collect 100%.
Okay, thanks.
Let's take a motion. I will take a motion to approve the fiscal year 26 admin fee, 2.25%. You want to go to, yeah. So Bobby's, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so at this point, I'll ask Andrew to take roll call on our votes. Andrew, I'm a aye.
Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair Kaplan,
Aye.
Designee Sullivan,
Yes.
Designee Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Shabbat,
Yes.
Commissioner Choate,
Yes.
Commissioner Edmund,
Yes.
Commissioner Gentile,
Yes.
Commissioner Jennings,
Yes.
Commissioner McEnany,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy Rodriguez,
Yes.
Commissioner Silva,
Yes.
thank you, Commissioner Sinenko,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
The vote passes unanimously.
Thank you, Andrew. Matt, I'll turn it back over to you to keep the meeting moving.
Yep, I think that concludes our rate making decisions. I want to thank the commission for this important step that allows us to move forward and for his final CFO report. And I wish it were more encouraging news. I'll hand it over to Jim Rust, our CFO.
Thanks again, Matt. And, yes, I hate to have the final CFO report be what it is, but it has not changed from, if you recall, a month ago or 2 months ago, the last time we did an update on the budget. As expected, it's continued to be a challenging budget year. Next slide, please. I will not, as usual, linger on these, but these are the payments to the vendors for the healthcare, pharmaceutical, and other benefits provided to the members through January 2025. And the next slide is the mirror image of the same expenses for the enrollees and employee shares of those payments. Next slide, please. Okay, so here is the year to date, and the pattern that we have seen has been very consistently $20 million per month over what we expected to spend for this year. So we have the shape basically correct for the year, but the expenses have just been consistently higher than what we had budgeted. This is driven quite a bit by pharmaceuticals and also across all the plans, an increase in provider prices, mostly driving these higher than what we had expected. Next slide, please. And this is the same graph, just forecasting the shape for the rest of the year. You know, at this point, with the data we have on usage and billing, we expect that the red line will continue to be above the blue line for the remainder of the fiscal year, and we will keep you updated on that. And next slide, please. As all of you know, I like this slide usually a lot because it shows that our normal smaller volatility that we've had this year has the lines right on top of each other. But this year, there's daylight between the lines, which on the wrong side of the line. So that's showing us our cumulative budget deficit as we move through the year. So I expect that this will increase over the next few months until we get to June. And next slide, please. And here's the numbers. So through January 2025, we are $142 million over budget. That's about 8.9%. Again, about 100 million of that is in pharmacy spend, and a fair amount of that is GLP-1 drugs that we've talked about being higher than we've expected, but not just GLP-1s, but it's a large percent of it. Each health plan is also to varying amounts over what their premium budget would be. We do break the budget down by plan, and we can see that each one of them is having the same difficulties with prices across the board, and that's what's driving this in a large scale, this budget deficit. We are talking with ANF. They're aware of our situation. They've been looking at the data with us, and we'll be coming up with a solution to fund for to fund for the rest of the year. So I'm not concerned that we can't solve this problem budgetarily with our help from ANF in the state, but we do expect that this trend will continue. So I wish I had better news here on the final slide of the CFO report, but this is where we are for the year. Looking to next year, since I won't be here to talk about that, this won't translate into us starting next year as $200 million or so under budget. The assumptions that caused the variance this year have been corrected by us, the pricing team, and with the ANF budget team for next year. So we won't start next year's budget in a deficit position, or maybe a smaller deficit position, but certainly not a higher deficit position.
When do we run out of budget, Jim?
Yeah.
We will be good through mid-May or so. And again, the folks at Administration and Finance are aware of our cash flow needs, and we pay claims weekly, as you can see from those first two charts, and that we need to have cash flow at all times. It's can't wait until I know in the news you'll see the supplemental budget sometimes it's passed later in the year, but we'll be solving this for this year, so we can continue to pay our bills.
And does the governor's office give any glimpse of how they're going to help fund us? Or you're saying there's no concerns, but how do we reckon that with
I think
everything
the vehicle, I don't want to get in. I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you there.
No, it's okay.
I don't want to speak for them, what will they'll ultimately decide to do, but this is a supplemental budget situation generally, and that's what we've been talking about, what the supplemental budget needs, where the funds from what funding source that they would use to provide the funding in that supplemental budget. They're looking at their various cash flow needs and to see what would be the best vehicle for them. But from our side, as long as the funding comes, we're agnostic as to how it's funded to us, right? As long as it ends up in our account.
Okay.
So we're working with that. We talk to them every week. So, and this isn't a surprise. We've been forecasting this with everybody on that side, and here at the commission, the size of it is larger than we had hoped, but this has been known all year, so we've been able to work on it all year long. So not a total surprise where we're at.
All right. Well, it's definitely concerning here. So hoping to hear, how we're going to bridge this gap. I don't want to get down to the wire. So would love to get an update on this every month.
Of course. Mm-hmm. Will do.
All right. Well, let's keep moving. Dismal. here. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our meeting here today. Not as light and lively as I think any of us would like. You've heard from the commissioners that we are looking for specifics and meaningful tactics and strategies to execute to ensure that rates like these that we voted on today are not what we see next year. So appreciate everybody's hard work, but at the end of the day, we represent constituents who sometimes cannot bear the burden of these high rates. And in this state, we need to ensure that we are, as the GIC, taking a leadership role in reducing this trend. So I think the commissioners have spoke here. We are looking for that moving forward, and appreciate staff and stakeholders who support our initiative. I don't know if we have any other business. If anyone wants to raise their hand, we're here to get some time here. I don't see anyone else wanting to take the floor. So at this point, I want to thank Jim at his last meeting here. Bittersweet, as we heard, especially for me and for Matt and everybody who's worked for him. He's got some big shoes to fill, and we appreciate everything you've done, Jim, very much so. Same with Joe. He's got some big shoes that are going to need to be filled. Matt, do we know when we'll have someone who's trying to fill Joe's shoes?
Yeah, so those are decisions, of course, made in the governor's office. My understanding is that that process is underway, and I would expect to have somebody appointed to fill that seat by the time we meet next.
Okay, great. And then in terms of June, I am really looking forward to seeing all of the commissioners. I know it can be challenging to get into the city, but we did it for many years, every single month. And I would love to see you, make that connection. And, together, I feel like we're stronger. Letting Matt know we've got his back when it comes to demanding change for these double-digit eliminating rates for next year, for sure. So I'll look forward to seeing everybody in June. GIC staff, thank you so much for making an in-person meeting happen. I know between now and then, you've got a lot of work with open enrollment. Paul, you lead the charge there, and you're amazing. The whole staff is amazing in getting open enrollment done. And to the stakeholders and constituents, please shop. Please ask really good questions. The staff is here to help you. We know these rates are not what we any of us hope for, and we look forward to supporting you as you make your decision in open enrollment. So at this point, let me double check if there's anybody who wants to make a comment.
I do. Valerie, I just want to remind you of your suggestion that we start the June meeting a little bit later to allow for the commute.
Yes.
That would be lovely if we could start at 9 instead of 8:30 for the June meeting.
Okay, I think that's in the notes, and I fully support that. So I know the staff has to find us a room, but they've got our request there, and I'll look forward to that, to hearing more, probably via email or at our April meeting if we decide to have one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It'll be
So
nice to end the year in person, right?
Yes.
To end our fiscal year.
Yes, thank you, Bobby, for that support. So at this point, I don't see anybody else looking to make a comment or add to other business here. So at this point, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, Tim, thank you, Tim. And so it's a joint, all in favor? Aye.
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 Good luck with open enrollment. Spring is right around the corner, and we'll see you soon. Look forward